The brain is the most important organ in human body. It keeps your heart beating, lungs breathing, and all your body systems working. That's why it's important to keep your brain functioning at its best with a healthy diet. I am Rena, the consultant herbalist and the herbs researcher from Herb Concept. Certain foods have negative effects on the brain, affecting your memory and mood and increasing your risk of dementia. Dementia is estimated to affect more than 65 million people worldwide by 2030. Fortunately, you can help reduce your risk of disease by cutting certain foods out of your diet. Number 1. Drinks loaded with sugar. Sugary drinks include drinks such as soda, sports drinks, energy drinks, and fruit juices. Excessive consumption of sugary drinks not only increases your waistline and increases your risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease, it also negatively affects your brain. High consumption of sugary drinks increases the chance of developing type 2 diabetes, which increases the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Also, high blood sugar can increase the risk of dementia, even in people without diabetes. A primary ingredient in many sugary drinks is high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, which is 55% fructose and 45% glucose. High consumption of fructose leads to obesity, high blood pressure, high blood fats, diabetes, and arteriosclerosis. An animal found that high sugar intake caused brain inflammation and impaired memory. Additionally, mice fed a diet containing 11% HFCS fared worse than those fed a diet containing 11% regular sugar. Another study found that mice fed a high fructose diet gained more weight, had poorer blood sugar control, and were at greater risk of metabolic disorders and memory impairment. While more studies are needed in humans, the results suggest that high fructose intake from sugary drinks may have additional negative effects on the brain beyond the effects of sugar. Some alternatives to sweetened beverages include water, unsweetened iced tea, vegetables. Number 2. Refined carbs. Refined carbohydrates include sugars and highly processed grains, such as white flour. These types of carbohydrates usually have a high glycemic index (GI). This means your body digests them quickly, which increases your blood sugar and insulin levels. Also, when eaten in large quantities, these foods often have a high glycemic load (GL). GL refers to how much a food raises your blood sugar level based on serving size. High GI and high GL foods impair brain function. Research has shown that just one meal with a high glycemic load can impair memory in both children and adults. Another study in healthy university students found that those who had a higher intake of fat and refined sugar also had poorer memory. This effect on memory may be due to inflammation of the hippocampus, a part of the brain that affects some aspects of memory, as well as responsiveness to hunger and fullness cues. Inflammation is recognized as a risk factor for degenerative diseases of the brain, including Alzheimer's disease and dementia. For example, one study looked at elderly people who consumed more than 58% of their daily calories in the form of carbohydrates. The study found they had almost double the risk of mild mental impairment and dementia. Carbohydrates may have other effects on the brain too. For example, one study found that children aged 6 to 7 who consumed diets high in refined carbs also scored lower on nonverbal intelligence. However, this study could not determine whether consuming refined carbs caused these lower scores, or simply whether the two factors were related. Healthy, lower GI carbs include foods such as vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains. Number 3. Foods high in trans fats. Trans fats are a type of unsaturated fat that can have a detrimental effect on brain health. Although trans fat occurs naturally in animal products such as meat and milk, it is not a major concern. It's industrially produced trans fats, also known as hydrogenated vegetable oils, that are the problem. These artificial trans fats can be found in shortening, margarine, frosting, snack foods, ready-made cakes and prepackaged cookies. Studies have found that when people eat high amounts of trans fat, they have an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, poor memory, brain volume, and cognitive decline. The evidence for saturated fat is mixed. 3 observational studies found a positive association between saturated fat intake and risk of Alzheimer's disease, while a 4th study showed the opposite effect. One reason may be that a subset of the test population had a genetic susceptibility to the disease, which is caused by a gene known as APOE4. However, more research is needed on this topic. A study of 38 women found that those who consumed more saturated fat than those who consumed less unsaturated fat performed worse on measures of memory and recognition. Thus, it may be that the relative proportion of fat in the diet is an important factor, not just the type of fat. For example, foods high in omega-3 fatty acids help protect against cognitive decline. Omega-3s increase the secretion of anti-inflammatory compounds in the brain and may have a protective effect, especially in older adults. One can increase the amount of omega-3 fats in your diet by eating foods like fish, chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. Number 4. Highly processed foods. Highly processed foods are high in sugar, fat, and salt. These include foods such as chips, sweets, instant noodles, microwave popcorn, store-bought sauces, and ready meals. These foods are usually high in calories and low in other nutrients. These are exactly the types of foods that cause weight gain, which can negatively impact your mental health. A study of 243 people found that increased fat around the extremities, or visceral fat, was linked to damage to brain tissue. One of the ways processed foods can negatively affect the brain is by reducing the production of a molecule called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. This molecule is found in various parts of the brain, including the hippocampus, and is important for long-term memory, learning, and the growth of new neurons. Therefore, any deficiency can have negative effects on these functions. You can avoid processed foods by eating mostly fresh, whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, beans, meat, and fish. Additionally, a Mediterranean-style diet has been shown to protect against cognitive decline. Number 5. Aspartame. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener found in many soft drinks and sugar-free products. Behavioral and cognitive problems have been linked, although overall it is considered a safe product. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener used in many sugar-free products. People often choose to use it when trying to lose weight or avoid sugar when they have diabetes. It is also found in many commercial products that are not specifically targeted at people with diabetes. However, this widely consumed sweetener has also been linked to behavioral and cognitive problems, although this research has been controversial. Aspartame is made of phenylalanine, methanol, and aspartic acid. Phenylalanine can cross the blood-brain barrier and disrupt neurotransmitter production. Additionally, aspartame is a chemical stressor and may increase the brain's risk of oxidative stress. Some experimental research in mice and rats has also supported these findings. Studies of repeated aspartame ingestion in rats have shown that it impairs memory and increases oxidative stress in the brain. Another found that long-term use leads to an imbalance in antioxidant status in the brain. 6. Alcohol. When used in moderation, alcohol can be a pleasant addition to a good meal. However, excessive consumption can have serious effects on the brain. Chronic alcohol use results in reduced brain volume, metabolic changes, and disruption of neurotransmitters, which are chemicals the brain uses to communicate. Alcoholics are often deficient in vitamin B1. This can lead to a brain disorder called Wernicke's encephalopathy, which in turn can turn into Korsakoff's syndrome. This syndrome is characterized by severe brain damage, including memory loss, visual disturbances, confusion, and instability. Excessive alcohol consumption can have negative effects even in non-alcoholics. Episodes of heavy drinking are known as binge drinking. These intense episodes can cause the brain to interpret emotional cues differently than normal. For example, people have reduced sensitivity to sad faces and increased sensitivity to angry faces. It is thought that these changes in emotion recognition may be the cause of alcohol-related aggression. Additionally, alcohol consumption during pregnancy can have devastating effects on the fetus. Given that his brain is still developing, the toxic effects of alcohol can lead to developmental disorders such as fetal alcohol syndrome. Alcohol abuse can also be particularly harmful in teenagers, as the brain is still developing. Young people who drink alcohol. In particular, energy drinks are related to mixed alcoholic beverages. These result in increased rates of binge drinking, impaired driving, risky behavior, and increased risk of alcohol dependence. An additional effect of alcohol is disruption of sleep patterns. Consuming a large amount of alcohol before bed is associated with poor sleep quality, which can lead to chronic sleep deprivation. However, moderate alcohol consumption can have beneficial effects, including improved heart health and reduced risk of diabetes. These beneficial effects are particularly noted in moderate alcohol consumption of 1 glass per day. Now the end number. 7. Fish high in mercury. Mercury is a neurotoxic element that can be particularly harmful to a developing fetus. Children. The main source of food is large predatory fish such as sharks and swordfish. It is best to limit your intake of fish that contain high amounts. Mercury is a heavy metal pollutant and neurotoxin that can be stored in animal tissues for long periods of time, can carry concentrations millions of times higher, making seafood the primary source of mercury for humans, especially the wild type. Our diet certainly has a big impact on our mental health. Exciting dietary patterns that are high in sugar, refined carbohydrates, unhealthy fats, and processed foods can contribute to poor memory and learning, as well as increase your risk of diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. Many other substances in food are also dangerous for your brain. Alcohol can cause extensive brain damage when consumed in large amounts, while mercury found in seafood can be neurotoxic and cause permanent damage to developing brains. However, this does not mean that you should completely avoid all these foods. Hope you like this informative video. If you want to watch more informative videos on herbs and herbalism, then don't forget to subscribe this channel Herb Concept. You can also visit our website, www.herbconcept.com.